You have a great voice. Has anyone
Thank
ever
you.
told you that?
I went to school for voiceover stuff here.
And like announcing and have you in radio? I mean, it's God, it's a fabulous voice.
Oh, thank you.
Did you keep up with it or
I took like beginning classes, and I could have. It's just that there's not really a whole lot of union work here, so it's not like it doesn't pay very well. So I didn't really get a chance to try to pursue anything.
right? Um, is radio work though covered? So if you were, sort of like like had your own radio show, FM radio show or whatever, those guys aren't usually union members, are they? Or do they?
I don't think so, but I'm
No, I
not.
don't.
I'm not sure.
You don't want to do that. You don't
Yeah.
want to sit and host a radio. Yeah, okay. I hear you. Okay, so I have a little bit of tea over there that I would like to go and get. So this isn't live, is it? Or is it?
Oh.
I mean, no? So you don't, it's not like you have to go, oh my God, we're on the air,
Oh.
whatever. The olden days, the clock would be ticking. And they would say, where the heck is she? All right, so I'm just going to go get my tea. And can you give me a kind of an overview of what, or a quick overview of what you'll be talking about so I can just refresh my memory?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of chronicle your career from your start, like in Rabid, up until like Sailor Jupiter and now.
Boy, I'm very impressed that you know about Rabid. Okay. uh, yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem with that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go get my tea. Okay, I'll be
Okay.
right back. It's always nice to have a picture growing right out of the top of your head. Goodbye. Okay, okay. There we are.
Okay.
I'm ready anytime you are.
So
And do you get to edit on Zoom, or is it just the whatever gets recorded, it gets recorded?
well, I edited it afterward and I put it on YouTube.
So you do edit after. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Good, good,
So
good.
so yeah, how did you get the start in being a part of Rabid?
So we're starting?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, how did I get started? Well, okay, so first of all, I went to theater school um, for a 2-year pre-university program, and then I did a 3-year theater school diploma. And I started working right away. And one of the first projects that came along was a feature film called Rabid that was directed by David Cronenberg, who's a Canadian
Yeah.
and unbelievably talented. He had done some good work, and he was quite well known by then, but not as well known as he was subsequently.
Right.
And I auditioned for the part, and I got it. And so that was my first feature film, and it actually I got that part the year that I graduated from theater school. So it was really, really nice, nice
Okay.
little thing. And I did not know at the time the star of the film, who was uh, really, really nice woman and a good actress, was Marilyn Chambers. And I did
Right.
not know at that time that this was her first kind of non-pornographic film, let's put it that way.
Hmm.
So I thought that was really exciting. But then, of course, I would tell all my friends, well, male friends, so I'm working on this picture, with David Cronenberg. Oh, who's in it? Well, Marilyn Chambers. And they'd go, oh, you are, I was like, no. So it was really weird because at first I didn't know what they were going on about.
Right.
So then I learned, and it turned out that she was just such a sweetheart, a very nice woman. And I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad that I've never really gotten a lot of feedback for that particular film because I think it's only in later years that it kind of developed a cult following.
Right.
So I don't ever really get the chance to talk about it very often with other people. So it's nice that you brought it up. And thanks. And of course, every time I look at it, all I see are the monstrous pink glasses that I was wearing. Well, you know, those were my glasses.
Oh.
And so I had them on in the audition, not when I was auditioning, but I was wearing them. And then when I left the audition, I put them on and they said, oh, you got to wear those glasses. And I went, oh, okay. So that was the first time that I don't like seeing things. I just don't like it. Ugh, it was weird. It was the first time that I actually could see what was going on around me. I like it much better when I can't see. So anyway, so that was that. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And were you a fan of horror as a genre then?
I didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
I didn't really know that it was a horror film. I knew David Cronenberg did films that, you know, that leaned that way, that were, but I didn't know anything about, you know, how old was I? 21, 20? I don't know. I forget. 22. And like, you're fresh out of theater school, you get to audition for a major feature film. It could have been about garbage cans and I would have been delighted. You know, I would have just said, I'm in. But it wasn't about garbage cans. It turned out to be, you know, something that had some legs to it. So it was great.
And was there, like when it came to shooting your scenes, like was there anything that was especially difficult for you at all, or was it kind of mostly easy?
It was pretty easy. There was nothing. The scene in the hallway, where in the apartment hallway, after she kills the character, that was fun. Actually, it's always fun to play dead. I mean, who doesn't love playing dead when you're a kid? Okay, and you do. I mean, you just do it. So
Right.
to suddenly be, you know, and you have to be conscious of not like all those weird things. So, you know, in a lot of ways it was like a dream come true, because all the things that you dream about as a kid, about what is it like to be in a movie, or what is it like to be acting, some of these things, scared. There's a scene going on where I had to walk onto the subway, and people were acting all weird in the subway.
Yeah.
And just knowing, hey, this subway is filled with people, but that was just a little tiny scene, but it kind of gave me, I remember that as a good day. That was really, really fun. Geez, you know, that was my coat too. It must have been a fairly, no, the thing is too, in those days is that if you can wear clothes that are your own, then you're going to be a lot more comfortable and realistic and real. You're going to be a lot more real.
Yeah.
I think they do that in European films fairly often. Just anything to make it not look all done up, you know, and pretty or whatever. So yeah, that was a good day, that scene on the subway, because I thought, God, how many times have I gotten on this subway? Like a gazillion times, because it was shot in Montreal, and now here I am with the camera following me through the subway car. Casey, you're bringing back all these wonderful memories. So it was great.
And I've seen other interviews, a couple other ones where you were talking about working with Marilyn, and just that she was like really serious and determined that this was going to be her breakthrough as a actual, like actress. Yeah. Yeah.
She was, she worked very, very hard, and she was so determined. And, you know, I mean, she had so many things going for her. I have never seen any of her films from her previous life, so I don't know what that was all about. But she was, you know, so photogenic. And when I saw her, I kind of thought, does it make sense that someone who looks like me would be friends? But I think that's too, you know, like opposites attract, and that's why they wanted me to wear those big glasses. Like I was just, you know, that you always have these, often have these situations where you have the most gorgeous girl in school. Her friends are don't look anything like her. That's a kind of a standard thing, that because she wants to be with someone who's real. She wants to be friends with someone who's real. So,
right.
And not competing, I guess. So there was no problem there.
And what was it like working with David?
It was great. Just fabulous. He's just such a low-key, intelligent, non-hysterical individual. Nothing bothered him. It was just all very quiet and everybody sort of followed that. Because if your director's all over the place and he's it filters on down to everybody else. But he was just so calm and in control and kind, and you never felt rushed. No, he was great. He was great and so talented, right? I mean, all the magic took place, when he was in the cutting room and he was editing and he was doing his thing. And he was a really talented individual. He still is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about him like he's gone. So, God.
And was that also around the same time, maybe after the movie, where you had the craziest thing in voiceover to happen to you that I've seen you talk about, like that story?
Yeah, I'll just go through this because I don't want to, get too crazy about it. It was just a situation where I went in to do some dubbing, and it turned out that it was a pornographic film, and I had no lines.
Yep.
And so I went in and I said, "Where's the script?" And he said, "Oh, there's no script." Hey, little antennae are going up and the bells are going ding, 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 ding. There's no script. Okay, so I went in and he said, you're just going to be making noises to accompany the action that's going on the screen. And so it started, and I thought, I'm going to kill my agent. I'm going to kill somebody. And and so then it turned out that I actually knew the person that I was dubbing, and that was really weird. I didn't know at first, but because her back was to the camera. But then she turned around and I said, "Oh my heavens!" But I never told her that, and I never will, because there's no point. But so I went. This was. Which agent? Anyway, I didn't stay with that agent for very long, needless to say. That was really, really, I should have been told, he should have said, but you're doing dubbing for a porno film. And I would have said, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
No way. Not at that point in time. Maybe, when you're old and desperate, but not when you're 22 or 23 years old. That's not like one of the first things. And he said, "Well, wasn't it good dubbing experience?" And I said, No, it wasn't. Good dubbing experience is dubbing someone who's actually talking. Mm-hmm. That's good dubbing experience.
Yeah.
Anyway.
When you got your own TV show, was that daunting for you?
No, it was terrifying, but it was a lot of fun, and I really liked the people I was working with, and for the most, what was really great about that show is that every week there was a guest performer on, so I got to work with a lot of different actors, and that is what I loved, is because each week there would be someone else, and I would get to know them. It's kind of like summer camp. Somebody comes for a week and then they have to leave, and that's too bad. But it was a really wonderful experience. And unfortunately, there was a big strike it was all the crew and the camera operators and everybody on the crew side was on strike for the entire third season. So we only got 6 episodes in the can,
Oh,
So that kind of slowed things down. So every week I would phone my agent on Friday afternoon, and I would say, can I go to work on Monday? And she would say, nope. And that just went on week after week after week after week after week. So that really sort of, killed the momentum of everything. But then I think it did get settled, and we did like one or two more or something like that. But so that last season was a bit funky in terms of timing. And it's so funny. You think, I get the week off, but it wasn't that wasn't fun. I like working,
right.
and that would mean that show would be gone forever. Like we couldn't do it ever because we had all the other shows that had to get done.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that actor would not be coming around for that week. So, yeah, it was a bit sad, but.
And
Was, no, I'm sorry. No, I thought that I was going to say that was one of my last on-camera things, but I did quite a bit of stuff after that.
yeah, well, yeah, before I would go into voice acting, I know this is going ahead a little bit, but what do you remember about being on the Twilight Zone?
It was really fast.
Okay.
In and out. Boom, 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 here, boom, 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 boom. Usually when you show up to these things, like it's called hurry up and wait. And your call time's at 3, and then they'll call you to the set at maybe, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night or something. And this was call time 3, on the set at 4. It was just very, very, very well organized.
Yeah.
And I remember that I was really nervous for that one because it was Twilight Zone. Oh my God. I mean, who hadn't, even then, who hadn't heard of it? I mean, I'd watched it as a kid. So there, maybe I hadn't, maybe it wasn't that old. I've been around for quite a while. And I think I only had 2 scenes in the house, something like that. God, I haven't seen it in ages. So I was literally in and out in about half an hour, I think. And then it was it, like, oh, all dressed up, nowhere to go. Oh, I have to go home now.
Yep.
So, yeah. But I think I saw it maybe 20 years ago, and I haven't seen it since. So I know Big Brother, it was kind of timely. Big Brother was watching everything. I remember there's a scene with him, and he finds out in the medicine cabinet that there's a camera watching him. And I remember at the time thinking, oh my God, that's so outrageous. And yet, if you leave your cell phone on and you're chatting away about baked beans, the next day you're going to go online to any old website in the world, and suddenly there'll be an ad for baked beans, and you think, where did that come from? So that episode was actually really ahead of its time.
Right.
It was kind of spooky.
Right.
So,
What about in 1984, the TV movie you were in with Brooke Adams, Special People?
Special People. That was a lot of fun. Those kids were amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now this is a story that a lot of people aren't aware of. I don't know why they would be aware of it. We had some scenes with Liberace.
Oh.
And he didn't want to come to Toronto, but he said, you guys just come to Las Vegas and we'll shoot the scenes at, whatever club he was performing at. So they found out that they could get a cheaper rate airfare, because there were quite a few people in the cast and, and makeup and crew and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And they found out they could get a cheaper rate if they booked a 3-day excursion as opposed to a 2-day one, because we would only be needed to shoot 1 day, and we could have actually flown home the day of the shoot. So they phoned all of us and said, if you want to go home on the second day, you can go home on the second day. But if you decide to do the 3-day excursion, they'll put you up for your second night at the hotel, and you can just have a free day in Las Vegas. Well, hello. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. But so I think every single actor said absolutely. But I think some of the crew or some people had to come back on the second day because of other commitments.
Mm-hmm.
So we all arrive at the airport in Toronto to fly to Las Vegas. And as we're sitting in the lounge waiting to go on the plane, there's a whole bunch of women laughing. They're in a group. They're laughing and smiling, and they're all taking pictures of each other. And then they ask if we can take pictures of them. And it turns out that they were from a cosmetic company. I think it was Mary Kay, or I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And they had won a trip to Las Vegas. They were all going to Las Vegas for this trip that they had won. But they weren't doing the 3-day excursion. They were coming back the following day. So they were really excited and everything, blah, blah, blah. So the following day, we all played in Las Vegas. And then we heard the news that the plane from Las Vegas to Toronto had crashed.
Wow.
All those women who won the trip to Las Vegas perished in the crash.
Wow.
Pardon me, and some of our crew did because they had to go home on the second day.
Mm.
So we had to fly back on the same flight, that was obviously not the same plane, but exactly the same flight number. And I'll never forget this, walking up in those, they always would hold the newspaper at the door. So they would hold it in their arms like this and say, "You want a newspaper?" And I walked up. This is a long time ago, and in the big, maybe I don't know why, but the plane was out on the runway, so you had to actually climb up those steps. It wasn't from inside. We're climbing the steps, and there's a picture of the jet crashed on the front page of the newspaper, mm-hmm. and it's the same plane we're getting on.
Right.
Oh my God! All of us are thinking that we could, of course. We could have said, I'd rather not have a free day in Vegas, so I'm going to come home on the second day. And that what that lesson taught me was, if someone's offering you some fun, take it. That's all it said to me, take it.
Yeah. Because
if I had been, misresponsible or whatever, I wouldn't be here. I just wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
Of course, it was so, on that flight, you could have heard a pin drop. It was so eerie. And everybody drank their faces off. Because, but then everybody's saying, what is the likelihood of lightning striking twice? I mean, the odds would be like 1 in, we were all talking about odds because we've been in Las Vegas. Sort of the odds are in 1, quadrillion. So.
Right.
That is so sad, though. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's incredible. This is just random, too, but did you ever meet Dorothy Stratton?
Dorothy Stratton?
Yeah, she was the Playboy playmate that was from Canada that moved to LA, and then she was becoming a big movie star, and then she was murdered when she was like 22.
No, I didn't know her ever.
Okay.
No.
So, going back to...
Horrible story.
So, going back to, did you, after your TV show ended, was it your decision that you wanted to focus more on voice acting?
Oh yeah, for sure. I did a couple of other things. Some really nice parts and some really nice parts. Then I was doing something, and it was one of those hurry up and wait things. I was in the horse trailer at around 3:00 in the morning, and I'd been there for 10 hours, which is totally normal. And now I would say, oh, what a great thing you can. There's so many things you could do. Of course, it's not like you could have fiddled around on your phone, looked for games or anything. None of that existed. So you had to kind of entertain yourself. But there would have been so many things for me to do. And I just never felt comfortable enough to just sort of relax. And so I was on the edge of total fatigue and total nervosity. This is before my first scene. This was a big show. It was an ABC co-production.
Okay.
So, there were some Americans involved, and as soon as, it's Canadians, we get, oh, we got Americans involved. It all of a sudden, it just goes, ooh, 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 ooh. Like, oh, this is big time. So I'm sitting there in my trailer, and I'm looking in just sitting there. And I said, no, I'm not looking at that script one more time. Otherwise I'm going to, you get stale. If you look at things, if you work things too much, it's not a good idea. So I'm just sitting there looking at myself. And I said, do you really like doing this? And it was such a, that little voice in your head. And I kind of went, of course I trained my whole life to do this. What kind of a cockamamie question is that? So that was the end of that. A couple of months later, my agent phoned, but the seed had been planted. My agent phoned and said, we need some more pictures. And maybe you should just get some new ones done because the other ones are like 2 years old or something. And I said, I don't think I'm going to get any more pictures done. And she said, say what? I said, I think I'm just going to take a break.
Mm.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm going to take a break. And I'm gonna, maybe focus more on voice work. And I think at that point I had started to do some animation, and I really, really loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Because you feel freer doing animation. Much freer. It was kind of like being back at theater school again. It was creative and fun, because in those days, animation, all the animation I did was ensemble animation, meaning there's no dubbing whatsoever. Everything was done from scratch, so that the animators actually drew, and they were all here in Canada, in Toronto. Yeah. Toronto was a huge animation mecca. And so all the animators were here, and they would draw to your voice. So they'd be listening to you, and they would be, if there's a little quirk in your voice, or your voice kind of went up at the end or whatever, then they could make the eyebrow go up, or they could do a little something with the animation that completely matched the vocal that you were providing. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, it felt like a collaboration.
Yep.
So I did my part, the director did his or her part, and then the animator did his or her part. And then you got to see the whole thing put together. It was just magical. And all the stuff that I did in those days, and tons of it was all original animation. And I now realize how lucky I was to have that. And original animation, as I said, very often was done as a group. So there'd be sometimes 10, 12 people in the room. Can you imagine 10 or 12 microphones, and music stands, all in a big circle. And we'd record it like a radio play, so it was just wonderful. And then, sometimes people are so funny, and that if you start laughing because they're funny, that your voice is going to be on their take, right? Because you have to be absolutely quiet. But if somebody, if 2 mics over is hysterical, and you suddenly go, that's going to get picked up on his mic, and it's going to completely ruin his take. So people are literally like trying not to make a sound at all these funny people around them. It was, we just didn't know how good we had it. We didn't know how lucky we were. And I look back and I think, oh my, if only I had known. But that it was all going to end, and that sooner or later we'd end up doing a lot more dubbing. So it's not original, it comes in, and it is so much. I know that I'm skipping ahead in my long and boring career, but it's a lot harder to dub an animated series than it is to do it from its original state. Because you in the original, all you have is your imagination, and away you go, and you create that character from the ground up. Everything about that character is your creation. Whereas when you're dubbing something that's already been done, the timing is timing is everything when you're a performer, and you're having to fit yourself into someone else's timing. It hamstrings you. What are you going to do? So if I were reading the line in its original form, the way it was written originally, and the line was, let's say, I didn't know that you hated her so much. So I would say, I didn't know that you hated her so much. So you see a little pause in there. That's me. That's my timing, my heart. And then if I have to dub it and the original actor said, I didn't know you hated her so much, then that's how I have to read it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my way. It's
Right.
not my timing. It's hard. So I have to make myself sound good in this little box that they've put me in. And it's really difficult to do it well.
Right.
So people don't understand that. And it's like, just to be frank, the pay scale for the two are not even in the same ballpark. So
Yeah.
dubbing pays very little.
Mhm.
Original animation pays enormously more. And
Right.
yet it's the easier, more fun thing to do than dubbing. It really should be the other way around, because to dub really well, it's an incredible skill.
Yeah.
And so people who are really good at it, I hope, work a lot, because it really does make a difference when you see something that's dubbed by somebody who really knows what they're doing and is able to somehow get into someone else's rhythm and the headspace and the, so it's an interesting conundrum. And one of these days, maybe they'll bring back original animation. I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It's all the cost factors, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when I was talking to Katie about Sailor Moon, when I interviewed her a little while ago, yeah, she said that you guys only got paid $90 per session.
Something like that. Yeah.
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 And
It was.
when she went to LA and she was briefly replaced by Emily Claire Barlow, they were like, oh yeah, we're not going to phone patch a series where you're only getting paid, not even $100. And then she was like, okay, I'm sorry. But then obviously she got to come back. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Yeah. And Emily Claire Barlow ended up doing 2 roles in that, which was a little kooky.
Yeah.
Because
right.
I don't know how that happened. And she's so good. She's Emily Claire Barlow, and so is Katie Griffin. Hello, my God.
Right.
They're both fantastic. And they're both really good singers. You know, it's you'll be surprised how many, not me, how many voiceover people are singers.
Right.
The two really go well together, because doing voiceover is actually very musical.
Yep.
And certainly when we're doing that Rhythmo band, which is how we did the dubbing for Sailor Moon, I'm sure Katie spoke about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a version of karaoke, and it's completely musical. And in terms of when to come in. So if you don't have that kind of a metronome inside your head, and you can, you see or even nowadays they use, swipes and the little ding, ding, ding in. It's all musical. So if you don't have that going on, you're going to be terrified, because you won't. It's not in your psyche to be able to know that it's an actual musical phenomenon for you, when it is that you enter. So we had really good actors in Toronto who auditioned for Sailor Moon and were absolutely unable to cope with the Rhythmo band. So they couldn't do the show. So imagine that. There you are, you've got a great voice, great character going. The whole thing's wonderful. And then they get you into the studio and you freeze. I know a couple of people, they just went, and they froze. So what is it? And it's coming, that band is moving like stink. And it's not just your lines moving across the band, it's everybody else's lines. Right. So it's kind of like, at LaGuardia, all the planes are stacked on top of one another. It's the same idea. and
Mhm.
you have to find your line. And there are all these lines going by. It looks like rush hour. And you have to talk when your line hits the band on the opposite, on the left-hand side. And I know at first I went, that was my reaction. Oh yeah, you really think I'm going to be able to do this? I don't think so. And it was, luckily I had someone with a good sense of humor. I forget who it was. Could have been Tracy, because Tracy was directing at that point. But I just, or no, maybe it was even the engineer. Oh, come on, you can do it. I think actually the engineer said, it's very musical. It's just a, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. So it's going in. I went, oh, that all you need is one person to explain something in a way that makes your brain go, aha, I got it.
Yeah.
And then I got it. And that was it. So, and when, that's the thing, they use the rhythmo band in Quebec a lot. Quebec is a French-speaking province, and they have a lot of film and television that they dub into from English into French. So dubbing is a huge industry in Quebec, huge. So they were the ones who started this rhythmo band thing.
Yeah.
And they use it to do feature films, and the work they can do with it is so precise and so amazing. So to me, we were very lucky that we were using that, because I think it was a lot fast. Once we got the hang of it, it went really, I think, a lot faster than the wipes and the beeps.
Right.
So, but nowadays, nobody else, I've never heard of anybody else using the rhythmo band anywhere else except here in Canada or in Quebec. It's usually, wipes and beeps. And there you go too. You want to talk about how to the creativity. All right, so it's going beep, beep, beep. What do you mean you don't love me? And it's like I don't know. It just takes away from the, you're just about to do this really, and you got that beep, beep going on in your mind. You see my dog just, hi, Bucky. Here. All right, you go and lie down. That's a good boy. That's a good boy.
I also asked Katie if she knew any particular voice actors for Sailor Moon that you guys didn't really get asked about. Did you know about Karen being replaced as Mercury, Liza Balkan?
Yeah, I had heard that, but we didn't work. I'm sure Katie told you this. It was very rare that we worked together.
Right.
So I would usually, again, just for expediency's sake, they would say, okay, today you've got 4 lines from this show and 2 lines from this show and 1 line from this show. And then they would just, rack them up, and I would do them, and I would leave. And most of the time I didn't know what was going on, had no idea. I would just say to the director, am I happy or sad? Oh, you're happy. Oh, great. Okay, here we go. Am I scared? Because there's like nothing, no information. just do it. This is the school of just do it. No, there's no what's my motivation? No, just do it. Do it, and then you can go, because we got someone coming in 15 minutes. So that was kind of how that went. But sometimes when things are done that spontaneously, I can say with great assurance that there was no staleness in that show. Nothing ever got stale.
Right.
That was the farthest thing, because it was all just fresh. And, yeah. So, but I think it turned out really, really well. I'm just amazed at how well it turned out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It gets criticized for not having stuck to the original manga, and of course, what people fail to realize is that if it had stuck to the original manga, it never would have been on the air ever.
Right.
Ever. It wouldn't have been on the air.
Right. Yeah.
And in Canada, it might even be stricter than it is in the US, but for example, if one of the scenes that they wanted to use in the show that was a really riveting plot point happened to show a little kid riding a bicycle without a helmet, they had to cut the scene. So it wasn't so much people, say, oh, censorship. That some of that is involved for sure, because it was not appropriate for Saturday morning cartoons, which is what it was going to be sold as.
Right.
But a lot of times stuff got cut out just because there was a background character doing something that they wouldn't allow. So it was very, very strict. So nowadays, of course, you can stream everything. So you don't have any of those regulations stopping you from doing whatever you want and showing whatever you want. But in those days, there were a lot of regulations, and there still are on children's programming. On major networks, as opposed to being streamed. It's very, very, it can get tricky, right? And so, the helmet thing, wow, it's astonishing that someone actually sits there and puts together all those rules and regulations and then has to make sure that they're applied.
Right.
So, pardon me. So, yeah. So it was what it was.
What was was the hardest thing for you recording Lita Jupiter? Was it the attack and transformation?
The attacks.
Yeah.
The attacks. I remember one night, it was in was it the R movie, I think? I forget what it was. Boy, I tell you, at the end of it, I went home and I literally could not talk.
Oh.
I mean, I was like this. So I thought, this is, and this is before, that we knew it was this was before it was even properly on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had no idea if it was going to be successful or not successful. We had no clue. And I remember thinking, is this worth it? Wow. See, actors now who do voices for video games, and I'm sure you heard that whole thing about in LA, they're just all up in arms because there's so much screaming involved that you literally can wreck your voice. Mm-hmm. You can do that to yourself by constant screaming and yelling. And if you're a good actor, you're not going to phone it in. You can't do that. You can't do it. Sometimes I hear really bad dubbing and the person's supposed to be, falling off a 20-story building and it's, and I'm thinking, that's, that's not the way it's done. You have to put your heart and soul into it. And if it's terrifying, you've got to get that terror going. And if you're, in a battle, you've got to be very, very, vicious, strong, like the way it's acting, so you can't phone it in. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I can't talk. Or you realize that you've lost. This is what happens first. You lose your high end. So that you go, well, I thought it was a really good idea. And then you go, oh! And like your voice just cuts off, like it has no high end.
Yeah.
That's scary. That is really, really scary. And you go, oh boy, hot water, lemon. And what it needs is rest. Mm-hmm. That's what it needs. Just need no talking. No. Katie taught me a lot about voice preservation because she's a singer.
Yep.
And she was just, when we would go to Comic-Cons, she would be adamant. She'd be there because we're yelling a lot because the ambient sound was so loud that we're projecting, and you again, that can do some damage to your vocal cords. And she's just sitting there, water. And I finally said, what's with the water? What does water? And it wasn't even like hot water. And she said, you're moisturizing all the muscles and the vocal cords themselves. When they get tired, they get dried out. And that's when you're going to do something really bad, like something, tragic. Whereas if you keep them moistened, they'll kind of they'll kind of be able to function better, and you don't get into, it's like when you pull a muscle and
Yeah.
you keep playing a sport, whatever sport you're playing, and you say, oh, I shouldn't really, and all of a sudden you pull it twice as hard, right? So it's the same idea with your voice. So so sometimes, that got to be hard, the yelling and the screaming. Yeah. So, because but I mean, it's worth it for the finished product. I mean, you look at it and you go, whoa, that's, you get chills because it all sounds so real, because
Right.
it is. Once you get good actors in there, and that's what happens.
Right. Especially with
the sound engineers must have.
Especially with
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, especially with the certain attack names, especially, I mean, for Jupiter, like Sparkling Wide Pressure and Oak Evolution. I think like the way that you did those every time, it sounded so memorable, I guess, to me. Each time
Thank you. Thank you. I love doing those. Those are great to do, and those didn't hurt as much. It was the like that, the attacks, the kicks. It's all the physical stuff that occurs, like when there's a lot of intergalactic battles going on and that sort of thing.
Right.
And it's endless. Like some of those scenes went on for, seemed like months, and you're going, oh, please don't let it. And you're looking, oh, here I come, because you can see your name coming along the rhythm band. Oh, here I come, here I come, here I come. Oh no. And it'll just say, yow. And what it is it's written out. So if it's a short word, it means you have to say yow. But if it goes on for like 5 minutes, it means you have to extend that yell all the way until it stops. So sometimes you'll say to yourself, oh my God, there it is. Yeah. And it just keeps coming and coming. So you have to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and so, yeah. So you always loved when it was a very short little yell, like with an exclamation beside it. So that meant it was going to be nice and short, like, yow! Yep. Okay, good. I can cope with that. That's no problem.
And was it, for you, because Katie also told me about how high energy and strict the producer lady was, too, like the heavy French accent, whatever her name was.
Yeah, she could get a little hysterical at times. Our engineer, God, I miss him. I'd love to see him again. His name was Adam, and she would go, Adam, like that. Whoa. She was just out of nowhere, just yell and scream, and but she got it done. I mean, she got the rights to this project, so she was pretty far. She was pretty far seeing.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people bid on it, but she got the rights.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up doing it, and and the rest is history. So you have to give her that for sure.
Right.
And when she was calm, she was the most charming woman in the world, but she was under a lot of pressure to get that done. There was time constraints like you wouldn't believe, and there were all these episodes. Like, how many episodes? I think that the first go round, when I think it was 80 or 81 that's a lot of episodes. Right. So it was just like, it's like a shopping mall of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
and
it was good though.
Yeah, and going back just in regards to other actors, a couple of the ones that passed away. Did you know Kristen Bishop or Susan Aceron very well?
No, I didn't know them very well at all.
Okay.
But I'm very, very, that's just tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. And as I said, if ever I worked with somebody, I did work with Katie, I think once.
Okay.
It would have been another one of the Sailor Scouts, but never any of the other cast members, ever. Yeah. So,
and in regards to the 5th season never being dubbed, how long did it take for you to find out, like, It probably wasn't until you were going to going to
A
conventions.
year, I think,
Okay.
half a year.
I was asking you when you found out about the content of the final season, like why they didn't bring it over.
Uh, Nobody ever said anything.
Mm,
We all expected to come back and finish off the series. That's
right.
what we were told when we left. And then, every couple of months, I would say to my agent, have the people from Sailor Moon called yet? And nope, nope. And so it was never officially, no reason was ever officially given. And
Hmm.
then finally, my agent phoned and said, well, we phoned and said, what's up? And they just said, no, we're not doing it anymore. That's it. It's finished. So I thought, oh, so I'm never going to find out what happens. That was weird. So it just sort of like, sort of flittered away. There was no official
Right.
kind of end time. And then we never got to say goodbye to everybody. And it was odd. So, and it was certainly never explained. I still don't know to this day what happened. I really don't.
Oh, it's because in the final season, some of the main characters, it's a group of three guys, and when they transform into girls.
Right. So
So
that was it. That's why they didn't
yeah,
go ahead with it.
yeah,
Oh, oh, okay. So you think they would have? Well, you see, that never would have been accepted on network television.
no,
But you'd think that they would have figured that out. Maybe they never knew.
right,
Oh dear, that's not going to work on little kiddo TV at 10 o'clock in the morning. See, and that's the other thing too. I discovered it aired at the most bizarre times,
oh,
especially in the
yeah,
US.
yep,
Like 5 a.m. So many people have said to me, I used to get up. The whole house would be sleeping. And I would go tip, 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 tiptoe downstairs, climb up onto a stool, get my Cheerios out of the cupboard, fill the bowl, quiet as a mouse, and sit there at 5 a.m. and watch Sailor Moon.
yep,
I thought that was hysterical. But it's like they clearly did not recognize, think that the show had any, potential to be popular. So
right,
they just stuck it on whenever they could stick it on. Oh, well, it's this thing about all these girls. Oh, nobody's going to watch it. And then it was at a really awkward time when school ended. So people had to like dash home and no talking by the locker. No, don't talk to me. I have to go home. Because I'm going to miss the beginning of it. So, yeah, it's amazing that it got the audience it did. I mean, they could not have promoted anything more poorly than they did that show. And
yeah,
even when it should have been, they just, whoever was in charge of promotion and advertising and realizing the potential that it had, it sort of fell down on the job, I think. And yeah, well, it's too late. Well, no, it is. It's not too late because so many people were affected by the show and profoundly affected and positively affected.
right,
So that's what makes me happier than anything
hmm,
is to meet the people, at Comic-Cons who will look you straight in the eye and say, if we heard this once, we heard it a million times. This was my childhood.
yep,
I can't even describe what it does to your heart
right,
to hear that something like that, and to hear that a lot, little girls who felt a little bit outside of the mainstream, a little bit out, just maybe not girly girls, maybe they were a bit taller than everybody else. And so they would naturally sort of gravitate to a character like Lita, to Sailor
yep,
Jupiter, because she was different. And it was funny, ironically, I'm probably, well, no, Katie's pretty short too. I was going to say I'm probably one of the shortest people in the cast.
hmm,
So I had to think tall. But that's never been, because I was never tall, I never had that issue of that feeling of being taller than everybody. And so many people brought that up. you know, that they always felt that they were just this big, tall, gangly girl. And so to see her represented on a television show, it sort of validated their own lives. You know, this is the first time they could see someone like them on TV.
Yeah.
And it just meant everything. And, you know, the fact that she was, yeah, she was pretty feisty, and she was a little bit of a girly girl, but not too much of a girl. I mean, she could, you know, she had everything covered. She liked to cook. Yeah. And I would always say, people would always say, I was Sailor Jupiter, or Lita was my favorite because, and I'd say, oh, because you're tall, and because invariably these at the Comic-Cons people would be tall, and I say, and I bet you have anger management issues, and they would go, well, just a little. I say, well, that's what's so great about her. You know, she gets angry. They all get angry. That's what's so great about this show, is that you finally get to see teenage girls, or apparently they're not really teenagers, whatever. They sure look like teenagers, who are real, and they get goofy, and they get angry, and they get jealous, and they get, you know, all kooky crazy if they see somebody who's attractive, in whatever way. And that's what was so magical about it, that it wasn't all gussied up and made pretty. And that's, I mean, the first thing when I saw the first episode that I saw it in Japanese, and didn't understand a word of what was going on. But boy, the Serena character, where you have to imagine up until that point, every single female cartoon character was, you know, all pretty and, oh, hello, Mr. Elf, how are you? Oh, it's just so, it's, you know, like this.
Right.
And then there's Serena with, you know, their mouth. And it was, I tell you, I was so impressed and so overjoyed. And of course, everybody wanted to be Sailor Moon. Not just because she was the lead character, because nobody had ever gotten the chance to play such a wacky, real representation of a young girl. So it was, so I was a bit disappointed when I didn't get to play Sailor Moon. But when I found out that I was going to be Sailor Jupiter, I thought, yes, okay, yes, I'm very happy. And I was very happy. I thought I really liked her the best. So it's always good to like the character you're playing. It helps. It helps a lot.
My main hobby is actually collecting production art, like animation cells and stuff for anime.
Oh yeah. And
I just have a picture of it because I forgot to grab it out of my closet before this started. But I have a sketch set of it probably won't even come up, but I don't think it can.
Tilt it forward. Tilt the lens forward. I might be able.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I got something there.
Maybe a little bit, but.
Oh my God. Is that an actual cell?
It's a sketch set of her that's drawn by the series' like highest quality character designer.
Whoa. And the little Jupiter sign at the bottom. You have that too?
I actually crafted that to take a picture and go with the,
Very nice. Very nice. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a find. That's a keeper.
Well,
oh my God.
I was going to ask you if you ever have been brought to sign any production art of her at conventions or anything.
No production art. No.
Okay.
Not that I can recall. Those little, no, it's not production art. You know those little cards that kind of look like baseball cards?
Oh yeah.
I have been given some of those, and that I've been told are really, really rare. I mean, for people who know about these things. One was a really, really nice presentation. I keep thinking that I should have some sort of not a raffle, but a contest where everybody writes in, and then I'll just pick one out of the hat, and whoever gets it, because it's really pretty. It's in a there are 3 of them, and it's got its own frame. It's got like little studded nails around it. Have you ever seen that kind of a presentation?
Yeah.
And the person who gave it to me said, these are really rare cards, and they're old, and And every time I walk by it, I think, there might be somebody who would really like to have that. I'll have to think it through. Because I'm all about giving. No, it's so funny, the art of decluttering, written by a Japanese woman. It says, you look at something and if it sparks joy, then you should keep it.
Right.
And so I think to myself, it sparks this little thing I'm talking about. It sparks happiness in me, but it doesn't spark joy the way I think it would spark joy for someone else. So that's, for me, it's memorabilia, but for someone else, it might just like make their whole year,
Right.
So I'm going to have to look into that, see what I can do.
Yeah, I have all the sketch sets I have from the series. They're of the four main girls, and they're all from the same episode. And I got them all from there's a store in Tokyo, downtown Tokyo, that's been selling production art from various anime for like 3 decades. And
wow.
They had all these sketch sets just sitting around from like the best animator to work on Sailor Moon. So I think they like know her or something.
Wow.
But
and were you in Tokyo to be able to buy it?
No.
You did it online?
Yeah.
Pricey?
They were like $150 each, so that's not that bad.
No, not for it's a collector's item. That's pretty reasonable.
The things that are the most expensive are obviously the actual cells, but the cells that were from the attack and transformation sequences, since those looked the nicest.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Oh God. Oh, wow. That's a whole other world, isn't it?
Have you, because since you've been in so much original animation, like U.S. animation, do you have any production artwork from any shows you've been in?
I have something from from Care Bears.
Oh, yeah.
I have Champ.
Yep.
And I have, what's the other one? Obviously, it's not out. It's one of those things that someone gave it to me and said, "Oh, you better take care of this." And so I've packed it away somewhere, and I'll get back to you on that one. Okay. They don't usually give you, when I was, no, we never got any of those things, cells. And of course, now you realize it would have been a good idea to ask, do you have any cells hanging around? It would be just, that right. You could. A friend of mine, Ron Rubin, who has, he was Artemis in Sailor Moon, and he, X-Men and Avengers and like all sorts of amazing characters. He has cells for practically everything he's ever been in. And he's been in 9,000 original series, maybe 9,050. And so his entire wall, how many does he have? I would say at least 40 or 50. And beautifully framed. And you walk in and it's the colors, it's mind-boggling. Right. It's just mind-boggling. And like regular people, like normal people who are not in our business, walk in and the first thing they say is, "Oh, where did you get all these? Like, this is fun." And he'll say, "I voiced every single one of these characters," and they can't even comprehend it. It just does not compute. It doesn't compute for me either. Every time I see them, I think, oh. And I think, how come I never got any cells? I've been in quite a few things, and I never. Oh, I know what my other cell was. I got a cell for Tintin.
That's what I was going to guess. Yeah.
Yes. And Snowy the dog. Yeah, and that, of course, is next to Sailor Moon. That's my one of my favorites all time. Mm-hmm. What's better than barking for 40 odd episodes? Just to bark. No, he didn't. He did a lot of other things. A lot of drowning. So that was fun. What fun. Can you imagine? You're driving home and you think, I just barked for 45 minutes and drowned, and I'll be able to pay my mortgage because I did that. It's kind of like, what happened here? Am I lucky?
Mhm.
Yes, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky.
Mhm.
So, you know what? I'm going to have to say skedaddle because the
Yeah,
time, I'm just
that's.
looking at the time.
I'll be sure to send this to you once I get it uploaded to YouTube and everything.
Okay, well, listen, yeah, that's great. This has been great, Chris. I like doing stuff like this. I like chatting, and you've been very, very, you've done your research, and I like that. I appreciate that very much, and thank you for making everything so warm and welcoming.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
And good luck with this. You're going to start doing this more often. You should maybe give Ron a call. See if
Yeah,
he'd like.
I've been reaching out to. I even reached out to like Sarah LaFleur, who was Uranus, because nobody's ever talked to her about anything like this.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. Hey.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. No, or Jill Frappier or Linda. Have you reached out to Linda?
Yeah, I just reached out to her too.
Okay. And well, now you can say, if you say Katie and Susan have spoken with me, then that everybody else goes, oh well, then it's all right.
Right.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, I gotta go. Thanks a lot, and good luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Bye, Chris. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye bye.